Hey guys, I'm a Dimension Jumper and today I'll be reviewing Pokémon Red, Blue and Green, which was released for the original Game Boy, and with Pokémon Fire Red being released in 1998, and with also Pokémon Red being released in 1996. Pokémon Green was only released in 1996. And this is basically the original Pokemon game that kind of launched the series to where it is. So you've got a lot of things in the newer games that was brought into the very first game. Like you've got Pokemon evolutions, battling, gyms, trainers, the champion, the Elite Four, all those sorts of things. And I feel like this is I think like with Pokemon Red, Blue and Green, they kind of like set the stage for what the future Pokemon games have been using. And this is basically starts in the region of Kanto, and you basically start off choosing your Pokemon starters like you do in the other games, but this is sort of cool because these you get to choose one of the original starters, Bulbasaur, Squirtle or Charmander, and depending on which one you use will help you with the first two gyms, because if you choose Bulbasaur, they'll help you quite significantly, because the first two gyms in the entire game is a rock and water type, and the gym leaders in those gyms are Brock and Misty. Now, with Bulbasaur, because he's a grass and poison type, but I'm only going to focus on the grass type portion of Bulbasaur. Because Bulbasaur's a grass type, he'll do quite well against those two gyms, because rock and water types are weak to grass types. If you choose Squirtle, you'll do quite well against Brock's gym, because he's a water type, and water type are super effective against rock types, but not so well against Misty's gym, because water types aren't that effective against its own type. But if you choose Charmander, you won't do that well against either Brock or Misty, because they're both a rock and water type. They'll be both super effective against Charmander, who's a fire type, and I feel like that's an interesting sort of curveball to throw people when they're first playing the game, because the original games are basically, and all the other games take the whole rock paper scissors element. So for rock paper scissors, it's kind of like easy to understand. Rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, and paper beats rock. And I feel like the first two gyms do show a great sort of example of the rock paper scissors dynamic of okay, even though you choose this Pokemon, let's say Charmander, you will need another Pokemon that can do well against, let's say, Misty's gym or Brock's gym. And if you choose Bulbasaur, you're fine with only using Bulbasaur, but if you choose Squirtle, you'll only be doing well against Brock's gym, but you might need another Pokemon that's good against Misty's gym. Now, all the Pokemon in Generation 1 are quite interesting and quite unique, because you've got Pokemon like Hypno, Gengar, Cubone, Pidgey, Charizard, Bulbasaur, and all of the other original Pokemon in Generation 1, because they were the first Pokemon to be used in that game. And also, what I like about this game is that it shows how future things were brought over to other games, and how successful that the future games of the Pokemon series had adapted those things. So, for example, with let's say Pokemon, let's say Gold and Silver, not only did they bring over the same sort of concepts in Generation 1, but they also brought in more Pokemon and a new region. And not only could you explore this new region, but also visit the old region, and I think it's quite cool. And also in let's say the current generation, Pokemon Sword and Shield, those games bring in Dynamax or Gigantamax or whatever you like to call it, and where you can where your Pokemon literally grow 10 times, 10 times its original size. So let's say if I used a Pikachu and then Dynamaxed him, he would grow to the size of a building. That's how far the Pokemon series has come and how they've used new things and elements for the game. And now I'm going to show you some gameplay. Now, when it comes to this, comparing this game to the newer games like Sword and Shield, this game, compared to, like, you know, if you're looking at graphic wise, is very, very limited, should I say, because if you look at newer games, all of those games are in 3D. Well, this one is only in like 8-bit. And what I like about one of the things I do quite like about the old games is that they're all use, like, you know, an 8-bit sprite. And also what I like about when you use some of the moves is that they're all, you know, have their own sort of effects when you use them. So for example, when I used Ember, you saw some flames just appear, and I think it's a cool idea and a cool way of showing how moves work, because of how they are limited by the time. And if you look at newer games like still again Sword and Shield, you've got 3D models of Pokemon, and they use, like, you know, the whole bodies to use to move. So for example, if a Pokemon used Flamethrower, they would, like, open their mouth and use Flamethrower. Or if they used let's say Dragon Claw, they'll make a giant swipe with one of their claws. And I feel like this game does do a good way of, like, doing moves. And also if you look at this game, this will, like, do, like, bars, like, when you encounter Pokemon. And I think it's quite cool because again, this, in terms of battling, this game basically draws itself quite differently from when you encounter other Pokemon, where it might be like a fade or a sort of like a cutaway to when you encounter Pokemon, that sort of thing. And it's always random a lot of the time. That is. Sometimes you might encounter a Pokemon, a couple of, like, the same kind of Pokemon a couple of times. So if you just saw there, I encountered 2 Zubats, and you can always encounter trainers in places like here. So yeah, and it's like here that they always, any trainer that you do find in certain areas, they always have different Pokemon. And they might have, like, a specific title. So, for example, there might be like a bird keeper, an ace trainer, a bug trainer, whatever kind of type there is. There will obviously be a trainer that might have Pokemon in a specific typing. A lot of the other time, it's just Pokemon trainers with Pokemon with random types. So for example, one trainer might have a, let's say, a Pidgey, a Raichu, and a Parasect. All of those Pokemon all have different types, with Pidgey being a flying normal type, Raichu being a pure electric type, and Parasect being a grass and bug type. So yeah, I think that's quite cool and interesting, and just like a nice way of just, like, you know, playing the game. And also, each Pokemon has 4 moves, so that means they all have, like, you know, different moves that you can have to use, but they also that also means they all have specific they all have a limited amount of time to use those moves. So for example, if I used Ember, let's say, that I can only use Ember like 25 times, I think. Yeah, 25 times. And then once I've used all Embers, I can't use it again unless I get a Ether, which is an item that you can use in the Pokemon series that can give you more Embers, or like just gives you more moves, yeah, or just helps you just fully restores your moves. Or if you heal at a Pokemon Center. So I think that's quite cool and interesting. And also, because Charmeleon is confused, the only way that it can be unconfused if I either switch Pokemon or if it or if it stops getting confused. Yeah. So yeah, and I think that's quite an interesting way. So yeah. So I think that's it for the gameplay, and now it's time to go back to the review. So for this game, these have, like, types, like all the other games, but the strongest one in Generation 1 is the Psychic type. Now, in Generation 1 in Red, Blue and Green, the only reason Psychic type was the strongest is because there wasn't really that many other types that were super effective against Psychic to deal that much damage. So I don't think there was, because like the moves or the types that were only super effective in Generation 1 was Bug and Ghost, and all the other ones didn't do that much damage to Psychic type, making Psychic types the strongest Pokemon typing in the entire game, to the point where in Generation 2, Game Freak brought out two new types, the Steel type and the Dark type. That meant that Psychic types couldn't do that much damage to Steel types and did no damage at all to Dark types, whereas Dark types were super effective against Psychic types, and then they brought in new types or new Pokemon for those specific types, like Umbreon, Steelix, and I think that they also added like some new moves as well, so they can make, like, Psychic types more like on the same level as other types in terms of weaknesses, that sort of thing. And yeah, and also you might have heard me saying Pokemon Green a lot in this review, and that's because it was only exclusively sold in Japan when it was first released, while Red and Blue were sold not only in Japan but in North America, Australia and Europe, and North America, Australia and Europe didn't get Pokemon Green because it was only sold exclusively in Japan. It wasn't until around Generation 3 when Game Freak started remaking some of the games, or all of the games, starting with the original games, where they had Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, and not Blue, because I don't know why. And I think that's like when people in North America and Europe finally got to play Leaf Green as a remake of the original Green, and I think that's really interesting of how Game Freak took the original concept of Green and remade that into Pokemon Leaf Green. I think that's really interesting. Now, with the evil team of this game, Team Rocket, I feel like this is like a good starter for the evil teams, because if you look at the evil teams going forward, they're using more ways of trying to take over the world, like with, for example, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, where the two teams in that game, Team Aqua and Team Magma, want to take over the world by using either by flooding the world, by using Kyogre, and they either want to vaporize the world, that's using the other one, Groudon, yes. But with with Team Rocket, they only want to just sell and catch Pokemon, and they can sell them. Then when it comes to Pokemon Gold and Silver, they want to redo the organization and tell everyone that they are expanding something, and they want to bring back Giovanni, which I think is like sort of an interesting take on that team, because if you look at them in Pokemon Red, Blue and Green, they only want to catch and sell Pokemon. But then once you defeat Giovanni in his gym, he states that he'll be stopping all Team Rocket organizations around Kanto, and not until Gold and Silver is that Team Rocket wants to come back again and bring back Giovanni, which I think is a kind of an interesting way on of like having an evil team, and I feel like more Pokemon games should kind of like use that dynamic. So like if you've got an evil team, they disband, but then like a year or so later, like a sequel, let's say, they can come back again, but this time, let's say, because it's like with no Pokemon games, they want to take over the world. Let's say that the new team will try and take over the world with the new legendaries or something like that. So yeah, so for my final verdict of the game, I feel like as a starting off point for the Pokemon series, I feel like Pokemon Red, Blue and Green do a great job, because not only did they help launch the Pokemon series, they also made Game Freak also made some made the trading card game, which is successful, and a successful anime, which is still going on to this day. And I feel like if it wasn't for the original Red, Blue and Green, I feel like there wouldn't be that much Pokemon, or there wouldn't be a Pokemon at all in the world, and that we wouldn't see like some of the most well-known Pokemon in the world, like Pikachu, because Pikachu is well known, and he's also known to be the mascot of the Pokemon series. So yeah, I think that Red, Blue and Green did have done an incredible job of launching the Pokemon series, and I feel like that I think it's still going to go strong even to this day in terms of when new games are released. So that's been my review for the original Pokemon Red, Blue and Green. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.